Hello everyone, it's me Tiffany. Welcome to my channel where I share all things pregnancy, postpartum, and motherhood related. I am a certified birth and postpartum doula, so that means that I support women and their families on their journey from conception to postpartum. If you have not had a chance yet, please check out my website at www.nurturebytiff.com, where you can check out my doula services and my childbirth education courses and my blogs. So if y'all don't know by now, I'm kind of heavy on the postpartum thing, which I'll broaden the horizon and talk more about other things. But I'm just really talking about what comes to me and what I feel is important in the moment, right? So in today's video, I'm going to talk about postpartum complications, possible postpartum complications that you should look for after you give birth. So I know after birth, you're typically sent home with like this discharge sheet with like these discharge instructions. They're telling you about what to do if you develop fever or if you're having bleeding and different things like that. But they don't really go into what type of postpartum complications are there. What is there really, what do you really need to look for? What could be the cause of these complications? So that's what I'm going to discuss today. I'm also going to discuss these things because I have actually gone through some of these postpartum complications, so I can kind of tell you firsthand, you know, what it was like and things to really look for. So the first postpartum complication I am going to discuss is a complication called eclampsia. So eclampsia is something that develops after preeclampsia. Preeclampsia is high blood pressure, basically high blood pressure during your pregnancy. It's typically found, I think, like in the second to third trimester. It can happen abruptly. It can happen all of a sudden. It can even happen after you give birth. Your blood pressure can spike. You can develop not fever, but you can develop like swelling. You can develop headaches that will not go away. You can develop and even have seizures, in which in my case, my blood pressure did spike towards the end of my pregnancy. And even after I delivered, it went on into eclampsia. So I'll give you a little scenario. I had delivered my baby on Christmas Eve of 2003. She'll be 21 this year. And so when I had gone home, we were probably home maybe a week, and I developed this headache, y'all. My head hurt so bad. I couldn't watch TV. I couldn't look at any light. Like I couldn't do anything. And I remember being at home. It was just she and I at the time. And my mom calling, and she was checking in to see how we were doing. And she asked, because I told her my head was just pounding. And she said, well, are you hungry? Do you want to eat anything? So I was like, well, I hadn't eaten anything. As a new mom, you're on the go. You're going. You're not worried about whether you're eating or not. You're just, you know, on the go. So I was like, maybe that is the issue. Maybe, you know, my head is hurting because I haven't eaten anything. So she went and she got me some McDonald's, and I was eating that, and I noticed as I was eating the fries, incredibly salty, and my head just, it got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. I had a seizure. I was at home with baby girl, and I remember holding her and trying to, when I went into my seizure, I was still coherent enough to know that, oh my God, I'm holding my baby, something is wrong, I don't want to drop her. So I shifted a little bit, propped her up in the corner of the couch, and I went into my seizure. When I came to, I literally had to crawl down to my neighbor's house to get her to call the ambulance for me. Get to the hospital. Blood pressure is ridiculously high, and I go into another seizure. So they had to give me medication to control my blood pressure, and they also had to give me anti-seizure meds. So I was on those meds for a little bit, went back in for my checkup. Everything was normal. Fortunately, today, 20 years later, my blood pressure runs low. I'm like 90/60 most of the time, which is awesome. But that is something that is a possible complication after you give birth. You could develop eclampsia. Another complication, or the second complication I'm going to talk about, is postpartum hemorrhage. This is something that I experienced personally, and still kind of triggering right now because I literally thought that I was going to check out. So with the postpartum hemorrhage, this happened with my last pregnancy. My daughter, now she's 4, happened during the pandemic. And with hemorrhaging, you are bleeding. Now, it's normal to have some bleeding after you give birth. That's 100% normal. But if you are continuing to bleed and bleed and bleed to the point where you're soaking through pads. I know, like, when you're sitting on the bed after you give birth, they have like this little pad down there for you. If it becomes soaked, if you are feeling lightheaded or dizzy, if you are, you know, possibly even like passing clots and things of that nature, it could be because you are hemorrhaging. Now, they claim that they don't know what causes a postpartum hemorrhage, but from the research that I have found is sometimes part of the placenta can be left in the uterus. Sometimes there's something called uterine atony, where your uterus does not contract like it's supposed to, and your uterus needs to contract so you can get everything out of your uterus. You can get those clots out. You can get everything that needs to come out to pass. And sometimes your uterus does not do that, and which causes you to hemorrhage and bleed uncontrollably. So that's what happened in my case. For some reason, my uterus did not contract like it was supposed to. I ended up hemorrhaging. And y'all, if y'all see something going on here, my daughter has this cat, and she loves me for some reason. Like, not her mom, but she loves to stalk me, and she's in here right now. So if y'all see some craziness going on, it's the kitten. And also, if y'all hear something in the background, it's the children. So yes, so I delivered her, and I noticed that I was having bleeding. And it's crazy because it was during shift change, and I was telling the nurse that was getting ready to leave that, you know, I don't think my bleeding was normal, and she just brushed it off. Oh, it's normal, you're gonna have some bleeding, blah 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 blah. But in my mind, I'm like, no, you know, this isn't normal. New nurse came in, I told her what was going on. She checked me, and she was like, let's get you up, let's take you to the restroom. I get to the bathroom, whole time I think I'm urinating, right? No. Look, see what I'm talking about? That's Luna back there. Anyway, whole time I am literally hemorrhaging. I am bleeding. It is like falling into the toilet. I get lightheaded. I pass out. When I come to, people are like working. Like the rapid response team was working, doing their thing. I black out again. I come to, they're still doing their thing. And anyway, I ended up having to get a blood transfusion. Yeah, I still have issues with my iron to this day. I was anemic before pregnancy, but that just kind of, you know, so I'm supposed to be taking iron supplements. I'm not gonna sit up here and say I'm a saint and I take my iron like I'm supposed to, because I don't, but I know that I need to, and I'm trying to do better with that. So that is another complication that you need to be on, you know, the lookout for. The third complication that I am going to talk about is a possibility of a pulmonary embolism. That is where you develop a clot somewhere, typically in the legs. It travels up to the lungs, and it ends up, you know, causing a blood clot. That is something that you need to be, you know, on the lookout for as well. Hypertension. I know I talked about preeclampsia and eclampsia, which is a result of high blood pressure, but you can develop postpartum hypertension where your blood pressure, I think the standard has changed now. It used to be, you know, 120/80 was the standard for blood pressure, but now I think they've even dropped it a point, like 119/79 is like what they want you to be. But as long as you are under like 140/90, you're not considered hypertensive, or considered like pre-hypertensive. Once your blood pressure gets over like 140/90, they kind of want to keep an eye on it. If you get like 150, 160, 170, you know, those are things that you know, kind of want to be on the lookout for. Some people can, you know, feel when their blood pressure does go up. They say that they feel pressure like in their head, or they have headaches, or they can just tell like their body's just off. But a lot of the times, a lot of people don't know that they do have high blood pressure, and it's silent. So a lot of people with high blood pressure problems do not know, but it is a possibility for you to develop postpartum hypertension. Another complication that could arise after pregnancy, especially if you are diagnosed with gestational diabetes, is you could end up developing postpartum diabetes or type 2 diabetes after you deliver. Typically within 4 weeks after you give birth, they want to check your blood sugar levels just to see where you are, to make sure that you have not gone into type 2 diabetes. And the final one that I'm going to talk about, which there's so many more, and I think I want to make a part 2 because there's just so many different complications that could possibly arise. The last one that I'm going to talk about is depression and anxiety. I know a lot of people focus on, they say like the postpartum period is like really the first 6 weeks, but really that postpartum period is up to a year. So mothers have that 12-month period is a very, very crucial period. Within that first year, the maternal mortality rates still, have gone up, from things like hypertension, from postpartum hemorrhage, from, anxiety and depression. And with anxiety and depression is because they are unfortunately taking their lives because they're dealing with the stress of motherhood and trying to adjust and trying to adapt. And no one is really talking about mothers that are leaving us due to the anxiety and depression that they're dealing with. They end up taking their lives, whether it be from abusing prescription medications that were given to them, or whatever means. But that is a postpartum complication as well. Most of these things develop within the first week, but like I said, it can develop up to a year later, with the postpartum, the depression and the anxiety. Typically the hemorrhage and things like that happen within typically the first week to 2 weeks. And even some of those things can happen within the first day. But those are some complications that I just felt like were very important to get out here and to, just kind of spread the word. When you leave the hospital, it's just like, here's your baby, go home. And it's like, okay, well, is there anything else I need to be concerned about? Oh, one more. And I'm gonna let y'all go for real this time. Wound infections. You have so many women who either they've had a C-section, right? And they're not really sure what to look for, if their wound is infected or anything. So if you do have a C-section and you notice that you have increased redness and swelling at the at the incision site, if you have any type of pus, any type of pain, in that area, you want to make sure that you definitely reach out to your provider. In some cases, those wounds can get so infected that your body can become septic, and sepsis is no joke. It will take you out of here. Okay. Yes. So with those C-sections and those incisions, y'all, please just kind of pay attention to those areas. I know, it's so much going on, and you're trying to adjust and, all that stuff, but try to pay attention to yourself. Hopefully you're surrounded by people or a person who can kind of come in and say, hey, how are you feeling? Something doesn't look right. You're not acting like yourself. Hopefully you have someone around, or hopefully you're in tune with yourself enough to know that something is off or something isn't right. So yes, those are a few complications that could develop in the postpartum period, and I just wanted to get on here and share that with you. I'm about to jump off now because it's like almost 10 o'clock at night here, and my girls are really taking advantage of summer break, and they are in there raising the roof, making a lot of noise. So thank you so much for watching. As always, comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.